Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Diversity of Plants Zone. In this channel, you can easily get every information related to plants and their diversity throughout the world. Before starting my video, I request you all to please subscribe my YouTube channel and like and share as well. Today's topic of my video is about three kingdom system of classification. So let's start the video. First of all, I will discuss about the introduction. Ernst Haeckel was born on the 16th February in 1834. Haeckel was a zoologist, an accomplished artist and illustrator, and later a professor of comparative anatomy. Although Haeckel's ideas are important to the history of evolutionary theory, and although he was a competent invertebrate anatomist most famous for his work on radiolaria, many speculative concepts that he championed are now considered incorrect. For example, Haeckel described and named hypothetical ancestral microorganisms that have never been found. Ernst Haeckel. Haeckel and the Three Kingdoms. This is photo by the Linnaeus Society of London in 1908 as shown in the figure. Next, I am going to discuss about the brief history. When the first unicellular organisms were discovered by the Antoine van Leeuwenhoek in 1674, they were placed in one of the two kingdoms of living beings according to their characteristics. It remained so until 1866, when Ernst Haeckel proposed a third kingdom of life, which he called Protista, and included all the unicellular organisms in it. Later, the development of optic and electronic microscopy showed important differences in cells, mainly according to the presence and absence of the distant nucleus, leading Edward Charton to distinguish the organisms in prokaryotes without a distinct nucleus and eukaryotes with a distinct nucleus in a paper from 1925. Based on it, Copeland proposed a four-kingdom system, moving prokaryotic organisms, bacteria, and blue-green algae into the kingdom Monera. The idea of a ranking above kingdom came from this time, and so life was separated into two empires or super kingdoms, Prokaryota, Monera, and Eukaryota, which includes Protista, Plantae, and Animalia. Next, I am going to discuss about the Haeckel's three kingdom system of classification. So, as we know, classification is the arrangement of organisms into taxonomic groups known as taxa on the basis of similarities or relationships. Closely related organisms, for example, organisms having similar characteristics, are placed into the same taxon. Organisms are categorized into larger groups based on their similarities and differences. The classification of living organisms is a complex and controversial subject because of which different taxonomic classification schemes existed at different times. In his classification scheme, Linnaeus recognized only two kingdoms of living things, which are Animalia and Plantae. At the time, the microscopic organisms had not been studied in detail. Either they were placed in a separate category, which is called chaos, or in some cases they were classified with plants or animals. As the knowledge of the properties, of various groups of microbial life exploded, it became apparent that at this level of biological knowledge, a division of the living world into two kingdoms cannot really be maintained on the logic and consistent ground. Then in 1860, the German investigator, which is called Ernst Haeckel, proposed a three-kingdom system of classification. Haeckel's three kingdoms. So this is the kingdom Protista. Kingdom Protista includes all the unicellular organisms. This is kingdom Animalia, which includes all animals. And this is kingdom Plantae, which includes all plants as shown in the figure. Next I am going to discuss about the features of the three kingdom system of classification. Three kingdom classification system was put forward by the Haeckel in order to overcome the objections and limitations of the two kingdom system of classification. Haeckel suggested that the inconsistencies of the two kingdom system could be avoided by the recognition of a third kingdom, and he proposed Protista as a new kingdom to accommodate organisms exhibiting characters either common to both plants and animals or unique to their own. Haeckel's three kingdoms were Animalia, Plantae, and Protista. Two-kingdom classification system doesn't clarify the whole distribution of organisms into two groups because some organisms has a character which resembles animals as well as plants. For example, Euglena have both types of character. They have chlorophyll for the process of photosynthesis, which is a plant character, and as an animal, which is included in kingdom Animalia. Another example is the Chlamydomonas and Volvox, etc., which show the character of plants. So, next I am going to discuss further about the three kingdoms of life. In 1674, Antonie van Leeuwenhoek, often called the father of microscopy, sent the Royal Society of London a copy of his first observations of microscopic single-celled organisms. Until then, the existence of such microscopic organisms was entirely unknown. Despite this, Linnaeus did not include any microscopic creatures in his original taxonomy. At first, microscopic organisms were classified within the animal and plant kingdoms. However, by the mid-19th century, it had become clear to many that the existing dichotomy of the plant and animal kingdoms had become rapidly blurred at its boundaries and outmoded. In 1860, John Hooke proposed the Protoctista, a third kingdom of life which is composed of all the lower creatures or the primary organic beings that he retained Regnum lapidem as the fourth kingdom of minerals. In 1866, Ernst Haeckel also proposed a third kingdom of life which is called Protista for neutral organisms or the kingdom of primitive forms which were neither animal or nor plant. He did not include the Regnum lapidem in his scheme. Haeckel revised the content of this kingdom a number of times before settling on a division based on whether organisms were unicellular, protista, or multicellular, which includes animals and plants. Three kingdom classification proposed by the Ernst Haeckel in 1866 includes the kingdom Animalia, which includes all plants, which includes all animals. Next is the kingdom Plantae, which includes all plants, and the third is the Protista, which includes all the unicellular organisms as shown in the figure. According to this system, the arrangement of kingdoms was done on the basis of the morphological complexities and tissue system, the division of labor, and mode of nutrition. Unicellular animals, algae, and fungi were separated from each other from the other organisms on the basis of the lack of tissue differentiation. The new group was called the kingdom Protista. Organisms lacking morphological complexities, tissue system, the division of labor, and enjoying the diversified type of modes of nutrition were segregated and put under the kingdom Protista. Members of the kingdom Protista included the protozoa, fungi, bacteria, and other microorganisms. Later, fungi and multicellular algae were taken out from the group. Organisms having diverse tissue system with well-defined division of labor and maximum morphological complexities in their body remained segregated from protists and were bifurcated into two categories. Those enjoying autotrophic mode of nutrition were considered to be plants and put under the kingdom Plantae, and those that have entirely holophagic or phagotrophic mode of nutrition were considered to be the animals and put under kingdom Animalia. According to this system, all known microorganisms came to be recognized as protists, neither plants nor animals. Ernst Haeckel introduced the three kingdom classification system in 1866, solved the first objection, and produced three kingdom Protista for that organism which has the characters of plants as well as animals. In kingdom Protista, all the organisms which create problem in classification is included in the kingdom Protista. So he classifies all living organisms into three kingdoms, which are: number 1 is the kingdom Plantae. Kingdom Plantae, autotrophs. Auto means self and trophy means taking food. So the autotrophs are those organisms that make their food itself by the process of photosynthesis or nitrogen fixation. They are able to make food by combining inorganic compounds, and these inorganic compounds are carbon dioxide, water, and light, to make the organic compound which is called glucose, C6H12O6. These organisms are almost all types of plants, fungi, algae, cyanobacteria, etc. These organisms are put in kingdom Plantae. Next kingdom is the kingdom Animalia. Wild organisms which can't prepare their own food are known as heterotrophs. So the hetero means other, trophies mean taking food. They get their food from autotrophs in the form of leaf grass and meat and placed in kingdom Animalia. These organisms are almost all types of animals including humans, and major types of bacteria, some types of fungi, etc. So the third kingdom is the kingdom Protista. This kingdom included organisms which has a character like both animals and plants are included in this group, such as Euglena, bacteria, and Chlamydomonas, etc. These organisms can produce their own food by photosynthesis because they have chlorophyll for the production of food. Next I am going to discuss about the objections and limitations. Haeckel's system was not widely accepted, however, and microorganisms continued to be classified as plants, for example bacteria and fungi, or animals, for example protozoa. Nucleated and anucleated organisms were kept together in protists. Heterotrophic bacteria and fungi placed along with autotrophic algae. Next I am going to discuss further about the three kingdom system, which is also called as the HAECKEL'S concept. As the knowledge of the properties of various groups of microbial life exploded around the middle of the 19th century, it became apparent that at this level of biological knowledge, a division of the living world into two kingdoms cannot really be maintained on a logical and consistent ground. Although the two kingdom system suited at the level of well-developed advanced organisms, it failed to satisfy biologists at the level of microbial forms of the life. Many of the microbes possesses both plant-like and animal-like characteristics simultaneously, and many others enjoyed such characteristics which were unique to them and not found in either plants or animals. Slime molds, which were considered to be protozoan and grouped under the kingdom Animalia, were found phagotrophic and amoeboid, animal-like in their vegetative state, but they resemble true fungi in their reproductive state, plant-like. Mortality by means of flagella was found the only animal-like character in flagellate protozoa. Many of them possessed cell wall and were phototrophs like plant-like. Bacteria were found having very little in common with either plants or animals. Many algae and fungi, which were earlier thought to be immotile, thus classified as plants, were found either motile or producing motile structures like zoospores or gametes, etc. during their life. In view of the foregoing attempts were made to find a solution, and the same was proposed in 1866 by the Ernst Haeckel, a German zoologist and Darwin's disciple. Haeckel suggested that the inconsistencies of the two kingdom system could be avoided by the recognition of a third kingdom, and he proposed Protista as a new kingdom to accommodate organisms exhibiting characters either common to both plants and animals or unique to their own. Thus, a three kingdom system consisting of kingdoms Protista, Plantae, and Animalia came into being. This arrangement by the Haeckel was done on the basis of morphological complexities and tissue system, division of labor, and mode of nutrition. So, the living beings are divided into two types. All organisms lacking tissue system, morphological complexities, and division of labor are further divided into diversified type of modes of nutrition, and these type of organisms are included into the kingdom Protista. And kingdom Protista includes algae, micro, macro, fungi, micro, macro, protozoa, and bacteria. On the other hand, all organisms having diverse tissue system with well-defined division of labor and maximum morphological complexities are further divided into two types. And first type is autotrophic mode of nutrition. Second type is the holophagic mode of nutrition. Autotrophic mode of nutrition are included into the kingdom Plantae, and kingdom Plantae includes bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms, and angiosperms. On the other hand, holophagic mode of nutrition are included into the kingdom Animalia, and kingdom Animalia includes invertebrates and vertebrates as shown into the figure. Organisms lacking morphological complexities, tissue system, division of labor, and enjoying diversified type of modes of nutrition were segregated and put under the kingdom Protista. So kingdom Protista includes the algae, fungi, protozoa, and bacteria. Organisms having diverse tissue system with well-defined division of labor and maximum morphological complexities in their body remained segregated from protists and were bifurcated into two kingdoms. Those enjoying autotrophic mode of nutrition were considered to be plants, and they are put under the kingdom Plantae, and those that have entirely holophagic or phagotrophic mode of nutrition were considered to be animals, and they are put under the kingdom Animalia. According to this system, all known microorganisms came to be recognized as protists, neither plants nor animals. Three kingdom classification, which was proposed by the Ernst Haeckel in the 1860s, includes the three kingdoms. First kingdom is the kingdom Animalia, which includes all animals like mouse. Other kingdom is the kingdom Plantae, which includes all plants. And the third kingdom is the kingdom Protista, which includes all the unicellular organisms as shown in the figure. If you like my video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and press the bell icon as well for further notifications. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much.